In 2 Saturdays from now, I'm going to have the honor and privilege of presiding at Kirsten and Stephen's wedding. It'll be my 217th wedding that I'll have the honor and privilege of presiding at. After 217 weddings, I think you were like 202, I think, something like that. For 217 weddings, they're all special. But one of them was particularly unforgettable. And it was this one. This is Fred and Susie Osborne, and they were married on Saturday, September 13th, 2014 in Redford, Michigan. Fred and Susie stood before me like so many others have, and they made a promise to each other. They said, in good times and bad times, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer, I am yours and you are mine, and I won't go anywhere the rest of my life if you don't go there with me. It wasn't the promise that they made to each other that made that wedding stand out. It was the fact that they made that promise in front of their 11 children. That's right. Susie and Fred came to church a year earlier, and they showed up along with Lori, Juan, Michael, Angelo, Emily, Allison, David, Ryan, and Jeffrey. Now, we had been praying at the church that God would grow our children's program. We just didn't think it would all happen with one family. And I gotta confess to you, embarrassingly, that when this family showed up with their 11 children in tow, every red flag in my mind went up. I heard myself saying in the back of my mind, oh gosh, they're gonna have more needs than we can handle. Oh gosh, they're just here to see what they can get out of us. Oh my goodness. They got more bills to pay than we can help them with. I couldn't have been more wrong. Do you know why Fred and Susie and their 11 kids came to church? To find a church, to find a community, to find a family, to find people who would walk this life with them. And yes, Fred and Susie struggled at times, and the church came alongside them to help make some ends meet. And yes, I took a total double take when Fred asked me, do you think you would marry Susie and I? I'm like, you're not married? 11 kids? Oh, well, yes. And yes, that family was more of a blessing to that church than I can even begin to tell you. So there it was on Saturday, September the 13th of 2014, that little church in Redford rallied to throw Fred and Susie the wedding of a lifetime. The church house was packed that day. It felt like it was Christmas and Easter combined. There wasn't an empty seat left on the floor of that church. It was Fred and Susie brought their family, and it felt like the entire church family showed up to be a part of this celebration. And here's what you don't see in that picture. The United Methodist Women, they took Susie shopping and bought her that dress. What you don't see in that picture is that the men's fellowship took those boys shopping and got them all of their matching ties. What you don't see in that picture is that Diane, she took the photos, and Cindy bought the flowers and arranged them. Max made the video, Lois baked the cake, Roberta and her small group decorated that church's fellowship hall like the best banquet hall in all of Wayne County. And Claire organized a church potluck unlike any church potluck I have ever seen. We had Jell-O with fruit and without fruit. I mean, we had it all. And Michael towed in all of his stereo equipment, and Jimmy DJ'd. There's this little verse in the book of Acts that describes what the early church was like, and it felt so much like what was happening that day. The book of Acts says all the believers were of one heart and one mind. No one claimed any of their possessions as their own, and they shared everything what they had. With great power, the apostles continued to talk about the resurrection, the new life, the new beginnings. And God's grace was at work so powerfully among them that there wasn't a needy person in their midst. That little church gave Fred and Susie a wedding they could not afford, but gave them a wedding that none of us would ever forget. And it must have been a couple of hours into that party as that fellowship hall transformed to banquet hall, then transformed to dance hall, that we heard the voice of the one true king, Elvis the Presley, sing into the night, "Wise men say only fools rush in," help me out, "but I can't help falling in love with you." And it was in that moment with that song, I don't know if it was the song or the Jell-O, but suddenly old Richard, the church's most cantankerous elder, was standing, Bob's nodding because he was Richard's pastor too. Richard standing next to me saying, "Preacher, I've seen a lot of things in my life. Oh, but I've never seen anything like this. We've never seen anything like this." That is what the church is supposed to give, is a response like that every time we come into contact with it and its people ought to walk away scratching their heads saying, "Boy, I don't know if I've ever seen anything like this." So I got to ask you, when is the last time the church surprised you? When is the last time you were surprised by God? When is the last time you felt surprised by goodness? That you were surprised by generosity or mercy or grace? I mean, don't you want to be a part of something like that? Something that at the end of the day, you know that you were a part of something remarkable, something bigger than just yourself. I mean, deep down, I think it's our deepest fear, actually, that when it's all said and done, we'll have lived our whole lives and we'll wonder, did it matter that I was here? I mean, we don't want to get up every day, go to work, come home, eat dinner, watch TV, go to bed, get up and do it all over again, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, without knowing that our being here matters. Are we left like the opposite of that statement? Are we left saying, is this it? Is this all there is to see? Well, this text that we've been wrestling with now together, some of you reminded me, Jeff, we've been reading that story for the same month. Yes, I know. Myra promises to preach on something different next week. That text that we've been wrestling with reminds us that we are not called to live lives of quiet desperation. That text reminds us that this faith that we are a part of is about defying our expectations, about opening up new possibilities, about inviting you and me into something remarkable. The life of faith that we leave here together ought to leave us, like old man Richard sitting in that fellowship hall that night, it ought to leave us more often than it doesn't, saying, we've never seen anything like this before. Did you catch that? That was the last line that Sandy read in that scripture today. The crowd that had come to hear a word from Jesus left saying, wow, that is not what we expected today. And that's my hope, is that you come in here every day expecting to hear a word, and you leave here saying, wow, that is not what I expected today. That you've seen and experienced something beyond your expectations. What was it, that crowd that day in that room? What did they see? What did they experience that left them saying, man, I want to be a part of that? What they saw first was a group of determined friends who are willing to do whatever it takes to carry their friend to a place of healing. They put their friend on a stretcher. They carried him for miles, maybe even for days. They got there was no room. They climbed up on the roof. They put a hole in the roof, and they did whatever it took to get their friend. Wow, I never seen anything like that. And then they saw Jesus, the religious leader, offer healing and transformation to this person on the spot immediately without asking a single question about where this man was from, how he got that way. All Jesus did was offer the healing because somebody needed it. And people somewhere left saying, man, we didn't know church could be like that. That church could offer, they didn't even know if that guy was a member or not. Uh-oh. They left saying, we've never seen anything like that before. When the crowd experiences that kind of faith, they say, I want to be a part of that. And here's the sad irony of that story of 2,000 years ago, because 2,000 years later, unfortunately, the culture around us no longer expects to be surprised by the church. The culture around us is pretty sure when it comes to us and what we do here, they are pretty sure they've seen it all before. They don't expect the church to surprise them. In fact, a brand new study, well, it's a study that's a few years old now, but a recent study of 16 to 29-year-olds, this generation that is checking the box, what is your religious affiliation, is checking none at a rate unseen in recent history. When asking them, what is it that you expect from the church, here are their answers. A study of 16 to 29-year-olds describe present-day Christianity as this. 91% will say, we expect the church to be anti-LGBTQ. That's just what our expectation. That's what we've seen from the church. 87% will expect the church to be judgmental. 85% expect the church to be hypocritical. And this one kills me the most. 68% expect us to be boring. Boring. They don't expect the church to surprise them anymore. They won't even set foot in because they've already figured out what they think they will see here. So here's the amazing, ironic good news wrapped up in these otherwise hard numbers. Because at no time in recent history is it going to be easier and more fun to defy the expectations of the community than it is right now. Because all we have to do to defy the expectations is look like Jesus and love like Jesus and be like Jesus. In a world where 91% of 16 to 29-year-olds expect the church to be anti-LGBTQ, all we've got to do is show the inclusive love of God to all people. And they will walk away saying, we've never seen anything like this before. In a world where 87% expect the church to be judgmental, all we've got to do is keep feeding the hungry and the homeless 5 days a week without asking a single question about who you are or how you got here. You are hungry, we've got food, we will share it with you. And people will walk away from here saying, we've never seen anything like this before. In a world that thinks that we are hypocrites, that we say one thing and don't do another, we can be free. We don't have to be perfect. Because we're not. We can be ourselves. Betty, I'm going to make all I can out of this picture of you. Look at her. Betty and Nora define the expectations that young people and old people can't be friends in the church. Older people, Betty, older. Older people, sorry. My wife just shot me a look, and she's not even in the room. I could feel it. She's upstairs somewhere, and she's like, you're going to pay for that? All you got to be is authentic and caring and genuine, and the world will walk away saying, we haven't seen anything like that. And in a world where 68% of 16 to 29-year-olds think we're boring, we can have fun. We can take our faith seriously without taking ourselves too seriously. And the world is going to walk away saying, we've never seen anything like this before. It is Pledge Card Sunday. For the last 4 weeks, I've been telling you that you're building something. And every week, I invite a family to come on up here and take these 400 Legos and build something. And every week, they build exactly what I think God wants us to know. Last week, it was a Lego couch made by our teenage boys, saying, this is church for me. This week, Jim Yates built a bridge. We're building a bridge here. We're building a bridge that takes the faith in this place back out into the world, and we're building a bridge for people who need healing and transformation to find the healing and transformation that we find here. We're building a bridge so that every time somebody walks into this church, they say, wow, we've never seen anything like this before. And if you weren't paying attention today, did you hear Mike and Tori's letter? They said to their little Henry, we want you to be loving and compassionate and caring, just like Jesus was loving, compassionate, and caring. And they promised to show them that kind of love. We are building a bridge to the future. Someday, Henry is going to be sitting right where his parents are sitting right now, and he's going to be sitting here bringing his son or daughter into this moment. And Robin, I pray that you're still here so that you can see the seeds that you planted in her, that got planted in him, that get planted for your great-grandchildren. You're building a bridge to the future where people say, we've never seen anything like this before. If you don't think that the bridge you're building is making a difference in the lives of real people, well, let some new people who've just walked across that bridge tell you what they found in you.
It does start with Harmony. We decided on Christmas Day that we would start the foster care process and become foster parents. We got the call for Harmony October 3rd at like 4:04 p.m. Not that it's memorable. Yeah, we picked her up from the hospital and we started our journey.
Yes. So she's definitely a miracle.
Definitely a miracle.
Yeah. We were both raised in the church, kind of stayed away from it a little bit. And then we wanted a church that would be accepting of our relationship as well as Harmony.
The very first question that we asked was, are you gay friendly?
The first week we came, right, we sat in the back, right? Everyone does. You always sit in the back, and we made friends with Myra and Al. And yes, and every week we come in, and they were very friendly. And then, we made friends beyond that, right? Yes. Every week that people would notice you and reach out to you. Then it was Carla, and then it was Debbie.
Yeah. And then Jennifer. It was a domino effect.
Yeah, I don't feel like a stranger here anymore. Right. And it was only a couple weeks.
Yeah, it was literally just a couple weeks.
And they make us feel warm and welcome, and they hug, and they're happy to see you, and we're happy to see them.
And if one of us isn't here,
Yeah.
it's always, we're so-and-so.
Yeah.
When you're born, you're a puzzle piece. And throughout your life, there's pieces of puzzle that God attaches to you. Some of them don't fit, some of them fit perfectly. This church was a perfect puzzle piece. When I would go to church before, I would always be like, I can only sit for an hour.
But then anytime I went over an hour, she'd be like, I can't believe it's over already.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I know.
never looked at my watch. And then Jeff and Myra's sermons are just, they touch your soul.
Yeah.
It's amazing how loved we feel here. And I can't imagine my life, our life, without this church family.
Kim and Shannon didn't believe you existed. They didn't believe there was a place like this for them, but they found this place and they found you here, and you've helped them be connected. It is Pledge Card Sunday. Woo. You're a piece of this bridge, and your commitment to this church and this movement is building that bridge. How fun has it been to be a part of a Lego series? Because we got a Lego offering plate today. And this looks a lot like you. People of different ages, races, shapes, and backgrounds coming together to build something beautiful together. If you're a part of this church community, either a member or one of our constituents, this week you got mailed a card for your piece to add. If you brought it with you today, it's your time to bring that forward. If you want to go home and think about it and bring it back in the weeks to come, you can do that too. It's also your time to bring your offering for this day. Or if you just have a note or a card that says, this is who I am and how I want to be involved. 51 Sundays out of the year, we bring the offering plate to you. But one Sunday out of the year, we say it's time for us to stand and come forward and say, here I am, Lord. Count me in. This is Bridget and I's card and commitment. It's nothing more honoring for us than to be a part of what God is doing through you. Come. The ushers will invite you to come, and come as you feel led. Be a part of this moment and this movement.